Reverse Reverend here. I just saw Avengers Endgame, or I just saw it as of the time of this recording. I also recently saw both Ant-Man and the Wasp, as well as Captain Marvel. Ant-Man and the Wasp was pretty terrible, minus the post-credits scene, which relates to this movie, and then there were a few funny comedic moments in there. But it's definitely one of the worst movies in the MCU. Captain Marvel was a mid-tier MCU movie, and it was enjoyable for what it was. But anyways, now on to Endgame. I'm going to start off spoiler free for a minute, and then I'll give you a warning before I jump into the heavy spoilers. Endgame was a fantastic movie. I really mean that. I'm not just spouting off. Was it the best movie I've ever seen? Was it like a top 10 movie of all time? Or an elite movie? No. But it was a well crafted and exciting end to the past 10 years and 20 or so movies in the MCU. I know there's probably going to be a whole new story arc, but for what we've gotten since Iron Man 1, the story made sense. It had a really engaging plot and some really great character moments. There were some moments just that were really well done. I'll get into those a little bit later. There were plenty of twists. Again, no spoilers right now. It felt like the right way to end this whole movie series that started again with Iron Man. Alright, so all the praise and good stuff is out of the way. Now I'm going to go over the whole movie relatively briefly because it is a 3-hour movie. So
3 hours later.
60 minutes. There are about to be a lot of heavy, major, mega spoilers here. So leave if you haven't seen Endgame or if you just don't care about spoilers because for some odd reason you like to ruin movies for yourself. Anyways, I'm going to run through the major points in the movie and then do a review of some of my favorite scenes and character moments. Again, I'm going to make this relatively brief because I don't want to do a 60-minute review. I'd like to keep it under 20. The movie starts off a few weeks after the end of Infinity War. We see what happened to Hawkeye at the end of Infinity War, where his family disappears. We then see Captain Marvel rescues Tony and Nebula. You see Tony stranded after the fight with Thanos. So they're rescued by Captain Marvel. There's a plan to attack Thanos. Everybody's able to track him from a massive energy output similar to one that happened after the snap. They go to the planet he's on and attack him. They easily subdue him, pretty much, with Captain Marvel there. And then they see the stones are no longer there. Thanos then tells him he destroyed the stones, and that's what the energy output was that they saw earlier. He said they were no longer needed and were a temptation. We see that he's heavily scarred, and he says that's from him trying to destroy the stones. They think he's lying. Nebula's like he's a lot of things, but he's not a liar. Thor then kills Thanos, and that's kind of the first major twist in the movie. We then do a time skip to 5 years later.
Much later.
Ant-Man, who has been stuck in the quantum realm since the end of Ant-Man and the Wasp, and that end credit scene being the only redeemable part of that movie. He's been stuck in the quantum realm. There's a rat that runs over the machine and starts it up. I know, it's kind of cliche. Rat runs over the machine, activates it. He comes out of the quantum realm, comes out, goes and finds his daughter, who's 5 years older, finds out that he's considered one of the people missing in the snap, and then we find out that to him, even though it's been 5 years to everybody else, it's only been 5 hours to him. It's 5 hours or 5 days. I'm like 99% sure it's 5 hours, but it might have been 5 days. That ends up being a whole thing about time at the quantum level being different, comes into the idea of traveling through time. So we skip ahead to the Avengers deciding to travel back in time after regrouping, since they've all basically split up after the 5-year time gap. So we have this major portion of the movie dedicated to locating the remaining Avengers who have split up. Thor ends up being a drunk, chubby guy. He's got a lot of funny little moments. He kind of lives in New Asgard as basically a drunk. So Banner and Rocket go and recruit him. Banner is now full-time Hulk, and he's completely in control, and so he's really popular. People take selfies. It's kind of funny. It feels like it drags on, because it does go on throughout the whole movie, but it doesn't take away from anything. Hawkeye has basically become an assassin who kills people who are still doing evil, despite surviving the snap, considering his family didn't get to survive, but all these people who were doing evil things survived. So he's basically an assassin going around killing people. Tony lives with Pepper and his new 5-year-old daughter. Black Widow, Falcon, Captain America, and I think it's Okoye is the name of the lady from the Black Panther, They're kind of doing a semi-Avengers thing for events around the world. They split up into teams, go after and eventually retrieve the stones. Black Widow and Hawkeye fight over who has to die to retrieve the Soul Stone. Ends up being Black Widow who dies. Thanos senses the Nebula from the future, be it past Nebula, getting her mind connected to future Nebula. Past Nebula then ends up setting a trap. Past Nebula basically defeats future Nebula and then sets a trap. And once all the stones are gathered in one place, the Hulk does a reverse snap, and then Nebula brings Thanos from the past through the present with his ship and his army. He then completely wipes out the HQ. That was one of those super shocking moments during the movie because he doesn't just blow it up. He blows it up so bad, it's basically going through like 3 layers of into the ground. It basically looks like he nuked it twice. So blows that up, but everyone survives that. And then we have the final battle ensue, first with Captain America, Iron Man, and Thor versus Thanos. Thanos then beats him down. He doesn't have the Infinity Gauntlet at this point, so it makes it feel like he was limited in Infinity War. Like the writers or directors decided to limit his abilities in Infinity War, and then without the gauntlet, he still just destroys Captain America, Iron Man, and Thor. And then after doing that, it's basically pretty much game over. And then everyone who was revived by the reverse snap that the Hulk did comes through as Doctor Strange gathers all the allies from the previous movies. They all come in, there's this major clash. It's really epic. It's a great climactic scene. It's a great way to end this series. It's the final battle. It really does a final battle justice. But in the end, Thanos retrieves the Infinity Gauntlet and is about to do the snap. But Captain Marvel, who had previously destroyed his ship, comes in and grabs his hand right before he can do the snap. And then Iron Man grabs the glove and prevents a second try at the snap. And then he snaps anyways. But we see that Iron Man took all the gems onto a new gauntlet that he created. It looks like from the nanotechnology. Iron Man then snaps and defeats the army, defeats Thanos, but at the cost of his life. So Tony Stark ends up dying. Black Widow is also another casualty who is not brought back. Presumably Loki, Heimdall, and Gamora from Infinity War are also final casualties. The gems are then returned to the past by Captain America along with Thor's hammer, which he actually picks up in this movie. That's one of those epic moments, and I'll talk about it a little bit later. So the Infinity Stones and the hammer are returned to the past so that there's not any issues with the time stream. And then we see that he remained in the past after returning the hammer and the Infinity Stones and grows old into the present. And then the movie ends with Tony's funeral and then Captain passing on the mantle to Falcon. Captain America is now old. Falcon is going to become the new Captain America. But to get into a little bit of the things that I really loved about this movie, where Captain America and Tony Stark's character arcs are completed and they're done really well. Black Widow's story ends tragically, kind of much like her past. We find out that the Reaper, what's the guy's name? The Red Skull, who is still guarding the Soul Stone, he tells her the name of her father, which she didn't even know. Her death is, again, it's sad, but it's also kind of sweet because she does believe that her friends are going to win in the end and that it's necessary. But it's still like she had this tragic past, raised as an assassin, raised to kill, and then has to end up giving her life and not being able to see her friends again and not really knowing, potentially, if everything she's doing matters in the end. Anyways, Hawkeye is able to return to his family and become a family man, and he's no longer the assassin. Thor ends up being a traveler Star-Lord. I'm assuming he's going to be in the next Guardians of the Galaxy movie. Hulk Banner stays Hulk Banner. He's still injured from the reverse snap because of all the energy kind of messed him up, much like whatever Thanos did to destroy the Infinity Stones at the beginning of the movie. Captain Marvel basically shows up for all of 15 minutes and has a role in beating down Thanos in the first fight, destroying his ship in the second fight, and then preventing that second snap when he regains the gauntlet. Captain America kind of admits in the beginning of this movie he can't move on despite telling others that they should and they should keep trying. But you just see his optimism and his steadiness as a leader never leaves. And it's really great to see that as a character, he never does give up. He never really changes in a good way. Like, I know not that he doesn't grow and doesn't learn, but he doesn't change and become negative, kind of like Tony. So he's kind of like the anchor, the emotional anchor for the Avengers. And then Tony is kind of like the intellectual anchor because he's the problem solver. And you can't have one without the other. So I think it plays off really well. So in stark contrast, haha, I wanted to do that pun. It's terrible. Everyone's done it. Tony has this defeatist attitude about saving everyone after their fight with Thanos, ends up without the stones, and then he realizes in the end that he has to help, and he eventually figures out time travel, and he kind of realizes that's who he is, and that he can't just let things go, much like Cap. And then Tony is able to fix his defeat and failure from Infinity War and from some of the past movies, and die at the noble hero death. And I know a lot of people knew that was coming, predicted that was coming, but it's played really well. It's done really well. Definitely has that emotional hit to it. And then we see, despite the risk that he can put his own wife and daughter in, he is able to risk all that to save those from the snap. He kind of understands that after meeting his father in the past. Or not understands that, it really just confirms what he's doing and confirms his belief in what he's doing. And then he has one of the most epic lines in the movie. I really like how they did this. It's a great way to end this series of movies. After Thanos gets the Infinity Gauntlet back, he's like,
I'm inevitable.
And then we see that the Infinity Stones were stolen from the Gauntlet, and then Tony has his new Gauntlet with all the Infinity Stones, and he ends the fight with Thanos the same way he ended the first movie in the MCU series with
I am Iron Man.
Captain America. I kind of mentioned a little bit earlier, but his story and his character growth is still really good throughout this movie. And you see that he still believes in Tony even after everything that's happened. You see their trust and friendship that ended between Tony and Captain in Civil War slowly rebuild and come to its end in Endgame. It's really good. I like the way they played it out. It felt believable. You know, you see them kind of get torn apart. They don't really want to talk. And they kind of come together in Infinity War, but it's still not fully repaired. But we see that it is finally put back together, and that friendship and that bond that they have is restored fully in this movie. We see Captain is the glue for the whole team. He completes his mission by the end of the film, much like Tony, but he gets the happier ending. The best moment in the movie for him, though, and I mean, there's some great character moments, but the best moment in the movie, and I think a lot of people agree, the theater exploded when this happened. So when he's fighting Thanos and his shield is broken in half, much like the vision that Tony had in Ultron, then he does what was hinted at in Ultron.
Come on, Cap.
Actually picks up Thor's hammer, which is actually Thor's original hammer from the past and not the axe. He does wield the axe as well later on. He wields it amazingly. We get to see a fantastic fight against Thanos with him, Iron Man, and Thor, and then Thanos still ends up crushing them. That's, again, one of the little weird things about the movie. Again, it didn't mess anything up for me, but either they nerfed Thanos with the Infinity Stones, which it feels like after watching this movie, because without the Infinity Stones in this movie, he still basically dominates everybody until the very end of his fight. So basically, after he beats everyone, despite Captain America picking up Thor's hammer, everyone's saved by Doctor Strange, who has been revived by the reverse snap. And then we have all the allies summoned to this final battlefield from the previous movies. It's really epic. There's a lot of cool moments. Even characters like the Wasp, I think, are cool in this. Get to see Spider-Man show up. When everybody shows up, it's really exciting. It's done really well. I really enjoyed this part of the movie. That's how a big, giant superhero finale should end. I could go into the Hulk story, Thor, Hawkeye, or the Black Widow's characters as well, more in depth, but I don't want to have a 90-minute view.
2,000 years later.
I will say, though, that the moment with Hawkeye and Black Widow retrieving the Soul Stone was really well executed, as you can't tell who's going to die until the last minute. I'm sure there's some people who are like, oh, I knew so-and-so was going to die. But it really is like, oh, crap, Hawkeye's going to die. Oh, crap, no, it's going to be Black Widow. Oh, crap, no, it's going to be Hawkeye. And then it ends up being Black Widow. Like I said, I think like 50 times before, Black Widow's death is because you know that she's doing it for a better cause, and she's doing it so that others can be happy and have a chance to live. The reality is, after her death, she's not going to know whether or not they succeed, but she gives up her life anyways because she believes they can. So it really is kind of sad because she had this tragic past and then kind of a tragic end, but she believes in her team like Captain America did, and it's a great way to end her character as well. Fight scenes throughout the movie are excellent, as expected, and then I already mentioned the climactic battle really what you would want for a grand finale of a series of 20 movies. The CGI looked really great, much like it did in Infinity War. The reunions of these snapped characters was done really well. It didn't feel too cheap or too cheesy. It's still characters who are dead are now back to life and they're returning, but it felt like it was done really well. Now, for the few nitpicky things I have before ending this movie review, the first one is Thor's character. He was funny. It was funny to see him kind of like this depressed, drunk guy, but it's not really fulfilling because he doesn't feel like he changes until the end of the final fight, where he kind of goes back to more of his normal self. He's pretty much depressed throughout the movie, and like I said, doesn't get back until basically the very end of the movie. In his fight with Thanos, it's not like he's fully back to himself. He has epic moments, but in terms of his character development, it's not all that great. But it is cool. Again, he has his cool moments. Basically, everybody in this movie has their own cool moments where he retrieves his hammer, not the axe, his original hammer from the past. It did confuse me until you realize when Captain America returns all the Infinity Stones, he also takes a hammer with him because he's returning that as well. The snap characters like Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, Black Panther, you knew from upcoming movies were not going to stay dead. It's not disappointing because you knew it was going to happen, but I was hoping for some twist at that, like a chance for an alternate universe. I know Marvel has a bunch of different alternate universes, and I can't remember her name, but the bald lady from Doctor Strange, I could look up her name, but I'm not. Bald lady from Doctor Strange kind of mentions to the Hulk when they go back to collect the time stone from the past about possibility of alternate timelines, but we don't really see anything like that. But I was kind of hoping maybe in the main timeline, Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, Black Panther stay dead, and then in alternate timeline they can be revived for the new MCU movies. But that doesn't happen. However, it doesn't take anything away from the movie. I still, again, love the movie. Lastly, Hulk Banner was funny, but seeing the Hulk go Hulk again against Thanos would have been nice. Granted, he gets injured after the reverse snap, but that rematch was something that I think was a missed opportunity. All in all, the movie is really good. I think it's a 94 out of 100 is what I would grade it on my own personal scale. I put the original Avengers at about the same grade, and then I think the Iron Man movie, the original Iron Man movie, I put that more to 96, 97. Definitely rewatch this movie and see if that changes any of my opinions at all. I would definitely go see it if you haven't. I mean, it's the end game to the MCU series so far. I think you definitely have to go see it. I think you're going to enjoy it if you like the previous Marvel movies or most of the previous other Marvel movies. I would say don't let your expectations for how every single character arc should end up or should be handled ruin the movie. Every character takes their own path, but overall it's still really great. Iron Man's death was speculated heavily. It was kind of predicted, but it was still done in a really great emotional way. You get this redemption from Tony's kind of character that he's been in Iron Man 1 through Iron Man 2 and 3. Iron Man 2 being bad, Iron Man 3 being absolute garbage, and then his redemption all the way through Civil War, which is great, up to the end of the MCU from Infinity War and now in Endgame. I'm Reverse Reverend. I hope you guys enjoyed my review. If you did, please subscribe, like the video, and leave a comment on how you felt about the movie if you saw it, or the MCU as a whole. Or just tell me how I'm completely wrong and I don't know what I'm talking about. Alright, thanks you guys. Have a great day.